Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Touring the Multiverse. This is the first of a limited series of the It's a Mimic podcast, where I, Dave, lead you
and Adam
on a tour of one of the published campaign settings for the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. We'll be breaking down the different aspects of a specific setting outside of the Forgotten Realms, and for those of you who listen to the regular podcast, you guessed it, I'm doing Eberron. Now, over the course of this first series, I'll be breaking down the history, lore, settings, populaces, adventures, and player options.
Well, I give some quick insights into the unique monster stats that Wizards of the Coast has provided.
Now, today, for our first episode, we're going to kind of give you the broad overview of the history of Eberron. So, everybody, hop on board the lightning rail, and we will look at this steampunky world of high adventure as presented in Eberron, Rising from the Last War. So the first thing that everybody needs to know about Eberron is that it was created by the three Progenitor Dragons. There were Siberys, Eberron, and Khyber. Now, they came into existence and they actually created the 13 planes of existence.
Wait a minute, there's more than 13 planes in D&D.
Not in Eberron.
Okay,
this is a little bit different. It's not your typical flavor. You could add stuff in, and we'll get into it later. There are different portals in the different realms that take you to the different planes. Like, it's all very much interconnected in its own perfect little sealed...
There's like a web of a multiverse within their own...
Yes.
Like Eberron's campaign setting then?
Yes.
Okay.
The three dragons, Siberys, Eberron, and Khyber, when they were done, they created the last one, and that was the material plane. It was the 13th, but it was kind of the hub of it all. It all kind of works it all together, it all kind of blends it, and makes it what it is. The material plane had a lot of features that the other realms and planes didn't have, okay?
Like what?
It knew the difference between war and peace, between life and death, and order and chaos. So the rest of the other planes, the other 12, they were all more centered on one facet of...
It's just like how each one of the regular planes in normal D&D in the Forgotten Realms setting, whatever, is focused on one alignment, right? But it's not by alignment anymore, you're saying?
Not entirely.
Okay.
Now, the thing is that the material plane was the best, okay? Because it had so much. And Khyber, she wanted it all for herself.
Okay, hold on. Khyber is one of the dragons.
Yes, that created the 13 planes of existence.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Now, she attacked Siberys, who is another one of the dragons, and ripped him apart. Just obliterated him, okay?
Now, is she known as the most powerful of them, or was she just, like, ambushed him and shanked him in the back?
Khyber knew that she was going to meet some resistance, but from Eberron and Siberys. So she kind of took the opportunity to get rid of one so that it was a fair fight to fight the other one.
Okay, so she's smart.
But it turned out that it wasn't a fair fight. Khyber was far too powerful for Eberron. Now, Eberron was a little more clever, okay? And what Eberron did was she wrapped up Khyber inside of her and sealed herself as a prison.
Hot. I've seen that on the internet.
Oh, buddy. Anyways.
Yep.
Sealed Khyber inside of her so that her evil could not escape and take over the material plane.
Yep, that's how you do it.
Okay?
Yep.
Now, obviously, this is some old-timey lore. But there's a few other tales that kind of come in with it in order to get us to where we are today. Because if you're not aware, the campaign setting of Eberron, it starts on an exact date.
That's freaking bizarre.
Okay, now we're gonna get there in a minute, but leading up to this point, there's a few other tales of history. So I just want to kind of tell you a couple of them.
Sure, yep, hit me.
So when Siberys, who was shattered by Khyber, and it really, like in the book, it really says the word shattered. It focuses on that. And that's super important because it is said now that the shards of Siberys are the dragon shards that encircle Eberron, the planet, and create the rings, much like you'd find on like Saturn.
Okay, so we have a legit planet here.
Yes, so Eberron is a planet, okay?
All right,
and
okay.
the rings around it are Siberys, supposedly. This is lore, okay?
Sure, okay.
The surface, that's Eberron. I think you knew that. I think you've heard me say that word once or twice before.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah, it's in the title.
Right. But Khyber became the Underdark, and that's how they kind of work this into...
Is he the Underdark, or is he the...
She.
Is she the Underdark, or is she the Afterlife?
Siberys is the only male.
Is the only male?
Yeah.
And
the other two are female.
Okay.
Okay. No, it is specifically the Underdark, which is the source of aberrations and fiends.
Okay, so we got rid of the Far Realms.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so again, like this is really contained, and they've kind of worked it all into it.
Yep.
And I mean, that's really just that's how the world was created.
Sure.
Okay.
Now, who created the dragons?
Jesus.
Yeah, okay. All right, the Jesus dragon.
Wizards of the Coast.
But bunch of wizards standing there on the shoreline.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
It was totally wizard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuck off.
Anyways, so one of these other tales, okay, during the First Age, the world was ruled by the overlords, okay? Now, I believe you know a little bit about the overlords.
I've done some research about them, yeah.
Okay, you're going to get into that?
Yeah, I'll do that way later. I'll do that at the end of the episode.
Okay. But, see, the overlords have, or had, an army of Rakshasa and other lesser fiends.
Okay.
Okay? And they pretty much took over the world.
Where do they come from? Do we still have the lower plains?
No. Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay. So it specifically says Rakshasa and lesser fiends. But if you remember, the Underdark is where aberrations and fiends come from. So I would assume that these overlords were...
It feels like there is, like, hell and madness beneath your feet. Like, if you dig down deep enough.
Yeah, this is not your typical Underdark.
Okay, all right, hold on. So this is what I'm thinking. Okay, we've got the sky, and the shards around is Siberys. Eberron is the land, but if you dig down, the core of this planet is Khyber, wrapped up in Eberron, and that's where all the evil in the world comes from, the depths of the planet. Am I yes, I got that? Okay. Yes. All right, I got that.
Okay. Now, of course, Eberron, the dragon, not the world. I'm going to have to probably...
Say that a bunch, yeah.
She was for the forces of light, okay? So it was a really evil versus light, dark versus light kind of thing. So anyways, the forces of light came together to defeat the overlords, okay? Now, nobody really knows what the forces of light are.
I'm assuming it's elves. It's usually elves.
Well, there's two rumors that I came across.
Okay.
The first one was the 9 gods of the sovereign host, which, again...
We'll get to later.
Probably not this episode, but we'll get into it at a future date. Okay?
Sure, yeah.
But, I mean, think of the words.
This is such a rich lore that we're not going to be able to... Everything is going to need to be referenced back and forth a few times.
Yeah, you're going to hear some words that aren't going to make sense until a little bit later.
Oh, it's like the first 2 seasons of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but the other thing that the forces of light could have been were supposed to be an alliance of dragons and celestials.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either the 9 gods of the sovereign host or dragons and celestials.
Yeah, okay.
So, forces of light.
So hold on. So there's the progenitor dragons, which are gods, but they're not just the only dragons. There are also dragons.
Yeah, in fact, we'll get into it, but there is an entire continent of dragons on the planet Eberron, which is made from the body of the dragon.
Of a dragon
Eberron.
god, though. Yeah. Okay.
Okay? That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The thing is, though, is that...
Well, we've already had a thing. What is this
There's
thing?
more things.
Okay, lots of things.
I got big things coming.
I don't want to know anything about your big thing.
That's fair. That is fair.
All right, well, stop dangling it and tell me about it.
So, the overlords, when they were defeated by the forces of light, they're immortal. So, what really happened was their essence was sent back down into Khyber. So the overlords and the idea of them and their essence still very much exists. They were more driven from the world than completely destroyed.
Now, I have a little info here. This is little look behind the curtain. There are about 30 overlords.
That doesn't surprise me.
And each one of them is one negative aspect of the mortals on the realm above.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
So they're almost, if you had...
It's the 30 horsemen of the apocalypse?
Yeah, the 30 deadly sins, right? Like, that's kind of what we're dealing with. But each of them has, like, a domain over a number of different kind of minor parts. It's not just anger. It's rage and hatred and jealousy. And so, like, they've got their domains. So that's...
Which one's Kevin Spacey?
He's up with Siberys up in Kevin's space.
Is it not good to talk about him anymore?
I don't know if we can make jokes about Kevin Spacey. I don't know.
Okay. Since the overlords and so on, many nations have risen and fallen. Civilizations have come and gone. There were the giant kingdoms on the continent of...
Xen'drik?
Yes, we'll just go with that. It's fine. But the giants were destroyed when they had a giant war. See what I get it,
yeah.
With the dragons of the other continent where the dragons are from, Argonnessen.
Now, that's pretty standard D&D lore, or just mythological lore. Giants and dragons hate each other, so that stacks.
Yeah, so, but I mean, they had their own continents, and, big fight. The giants lost.
Yeah.
Big time.
Gotcha.
In fact, I'm just going to go back to my 3.5 here for a second. There was a book in 3.5 called The Secrets of Xen'drik, and it really fleshed out a lot of that. They haven't done anything like that I found so far in the 5th edition Eberron, but there was additional content that kind of surrounded...
I'm sure you can find stuff online that references that, if you wanted to dig into the giants of Eberron.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I did on Eberron with my guys was exploring the different areas. I mean, we would take submarines over and explore the giant ruins, okay?
Yeah.
Now, besides the giants and the dragons, there was also the Goblin Empire of Dhakaani, okay? Now, these guys, they were in power, and they ruled the other continent, Khorvaire, which is where most of Eberron takes place, until an army of mind flayers and beholders and other aberrations came in and just obliterated everything that they touched.
Yeah, now, they were led by the Daelkyr.
Yes, which came out of...
The Underdark-ish.
What's it called? The Demon Wastes. Okay?
Alright, I'm jumping ahead then.
Yeah,
okay.
we're gonna touch on that a little bit later. Again, just so we're all aware, I haven't spoken about one of the continents. I figure I should probably mention it here, and that is Sarlona. Okay? That's where the humans came from, and we'll, again, get into that later. So there's basically the 4 major ones. Khorvaire, which is where most stuff happens. Sarlona, where the humans are. Argonnessen, where the dragons are. And...
Xen'drik.
Which is where the giants were. Okay?
And that was descended back into the wild, right? Like, there's no civilization there.
Yeah, to give you just a quick snapshot of it, think overgrown jungles. This is where Indiana Jones would hang out. Okay?
Okay, but the ruins are like 60 feet tall each room, right? Because there's giants.
Sort of. Sidebar. For every giant-sized door, there's also a regular-sized human door, because they enslaved elves.
I like it. I'm good with that. I would enslave elves if I was given the chance.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that was then. This is now. We've progressed from then.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is not how the world is anymore. Okay? When I say the last war, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. That's what the Warforged.
That's when they came into existence. But the last war was, I mean, it's right in the name. It was the last war. There are so many wars that they don't even really name them. So
the last war is just the previous war. It's not like it was the final war, never to have another one. It was just, the last one. Sort
of. I would imagine that. Remember how, well, I guess you probably don't remember because you weren't alive, but World War I was the war to end all wars.
Yeah.
But now it's World War I. So this will be the last war, but later on it'll be known as the War of the blah.
Giant dildos.
Probably 5 nations, but, we'll go with what you said.
Okay.
Up into the beginning of the last war, which lasted for a very, very long time, the continent of Khorvaire was, for the most part, united under the banner of the Kingdom of Galifar.
Okay.
Galifar was made up of 5 nations. Aundare, Breland, Carnath, Thrain, and Sire.
Okay.
Okay?
There's a lot of just nonsense garbage words that you're tossing at us. These are just nonsense, imaginary, made-up places that I don't have a frame of reference for. So you have to swing back to this a couple times.
And I will.
Okay.
I really like... The two that I like are Thrain and Karnath. They just kind of roll off the tongue nicely. Yeah. But Aeander, I hate saying that one.
Aeander?
Aeander. Hey, Aeander.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Now, the rulers of these 5 nations, which again are in a united kingdom, not the United Kingdom.
Right.
A kingdom that is united
yeah.
with 5 nations.
Yes.
Okay. They are descendants of the Wynarn bloodline, okay? Which is the royal bloodline of Galifar.
Sure.
Okay?
This is the Final Fantasy level shit right here.
Yes.
Okay. No, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
About a century ago, Galifar fell into civil war, which is what became known as the Last War.
So that's why you say the Battle of the 5 Nations.
Yes, which...
Let me guess. A king died and they couldn't agree who the next ruler was going to be?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, this is some Final Fantasy level shit right here. That's not a bad thing. And it happened all the time in history, but there we go.
Yeah, well, except this lasted for 104 years.
Oh.
Which, if it was our world, we would just call that the 100 Years' War.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what we do. But the thing that made it come to a grinding halt was in the 100th year, the nation of Sire was absolutely, completely obliterated, destroyed.
How do you spell Sire?
C-Y-R-E.
Okay. I will add all of these spellings in the show notes.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
Yeah.
And again, I'm bad at pronunciation, so you do what you want with it. Maybe it's Kyrie.
I think it's Sire.
I think it is too. I wonder if they call their king the Sire of Sire.
Keep talking, Dave.
That's probably not good for anybody.
No. So you said that it got destroyed?
Yeah, which, again...
How?
Through the morning. Not like, hey guys, the sun came up, it's morning. But like oh my god, this is terrible, I'm mourning.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
right, yeah.
M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G.
M-O-I-M?
M-O-U-R-N.
M-O-I-M-N.
M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G.
Mickey Mouse.
Morning mouse.
Yeah, alright.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So this war split the 5 nations even further, okay? And, I mean, there was infighting between the nations in amongst themselves as well as with each other. And this all came to a close when everybody signed what's called the Treaty of Thronehold. Now, Thronehold is a place, but again...
We'll get to it. Yeah.
Okay? So, Sire was destroyed, which left Aeander, Breland, Karnath, and Thrain. Okay? Mm-hmm. But it created 8 more nations. They shattered, they splintered, they...
We're going to talk about those in other episodes.
Yeah, but I'll just give you a quick rundown of what they are, because you guys need to know more of these nonsense made-up words.
Yeah.
They are Dargun, the Eldine Reaches, the Lazar Principalities, the Mrorholds, which is a real mouthful, Kabara, the Talenta Plains, Valinar, and Zilargo.
Yeah. Okay. All right, sure. You're just speaking ridiculous words to me right now.
Yes.
I'd say that you're speaking Greek to me, but we're not in Theros yet.
Not quite.
Not yet.
Not quite. Now, all of these 12 nations, they have diplomatic relations with each other. This is a time of peace, although some factions...
It's a strained peace.
Between some of them. Some of them still get along really well. Most of them don't. A lot of places want their land back. Okay? But...
We have an Israel-Pakistan kind of scenario?
Well, let's not get too political here, but yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We have North and South Korea, where we know that guy really wants the other one back, but there's peace for now.
Yeah, and nobody's really that worried about creating war, because it's really just a token measure anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, because they still have good relations. They're still cross-border trading. They get along. The Treaty of Thronehold, it really solidified what was going on just the continent of Khorvaire. Those are the 12 nations. However, there's a few other regions as well. Okay, regions that aren't governed by the Treaty of Thronehold.
These are like wildlands.
Sort of. I mean, one of them is the Demon Wastes. That's where the
Daelkyr came from?
No, it's where the demons poop.
Oh, the Demon's Waste, yes.
Yes.
Gotcha. It's where Baelors have their little litter box.
No, it's actually where they go to pick up belts.
Oh, okay. It's the Rakshasa litter box.
Yeah.
There we go.
So there's the Demon Wastes, which, we'll touch on that later. There's the Shadow Marches.
Well, you have to pick up after them, right?
Marches or marshes? We're going with marches.
Okay.
Okay. There's Thronehold, which is a tiny little island. We'll, again, get there later. And there's also Drome. Now, Drome has declared itself a nation, but it is not recognized by the 12 nations that were recognized in the Treaty of Thronehold.
Sure, okay. So it's the new guy on the block.
Yeah, they're really trying to carve out a spot for themselves, but they're not quite there yet. They're in an area of the continent that isn't super populated. It didn't really have a lot going for it anyways, but they want to play too.
Yeah.
For hundreds of years, for a long, long time, the Kingdom of Galifar was united by King Galifar.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. That makes sense, yeah.
And everybody loved it. It was great. I mean, there was the 5 nations, but they were ruled by the House Wynarn. Okay? Now, that all ended with the death of, like you said, the king. His name was Jarrett Ir Wynarn. Okay? And that happened on the 12th of Therendor, 894 YK.
Just keep talking your babble nonsense to me.
Okay, so I'm going to use the suffix YK for the year for a lot of this, okay? YK, it stands for Year of the Kingdom.
I think I have that kind of jelly. Continue.
I bet you Dan's website sells it.
The kind of jelly? You need that jelly to jam.
You know what the difference between jam and jelly is?
Yes, I do. Keep talking.
Excellent. So you guys will hear this YK coming up quite a bit. So 894 YK is when King Jarrett Ir Wynarn died. So Galifar has been solidified as a kingdom for, almost 900 years.
I can just hear Terry right now being like, fucking nerds. Can't you hear that in his voice right now?
Fucking nerds.
Fucking nerds. No, hold on. I don't think I can do Terry's accent. Pip, pip, cheer. No, alright, continue. He won't listen to this anyway. He's not on it. Keep talking.
Now, to give you a little bit of an idea of what I mean by the 12th of Therendor, we're going to break down the calendar real quick here. So, Khorvaire, or Eberron, their calendar works pretty much the way ours does. It's a little bit different. There's 24 hours in a day, there's 7 days in a week, there's 4 weeks in a month, and there's 12 months in a year. Just because I have it all in front of me, I'm just going to list them all out real quick. The 7 days of the week are, starting on Sunday, Sol, Mal, Zal, Wer, Zor, Far, and Sar.
Of course.
Okay?
Yeah.
The 12 months of the year are, starting in January, Zarantar, Olarun, Therendor, Ire, Dravago, Nim, Larvion, Barakas, Hran, not the guy, just like Rhaan.
Okay, it's not Ron.
Yeah, no, like I ran down to the store to pick up a...
Yeah, well, I'm still back in the secret of Nim.
Oh, Jesus. So going back into October here now, Spheros, Aerith, and Vault is December, okay? So King Jarrett Ir Wynarn died on the 12th of Therendor, 894 YK, which would be...
March 12th?
March 12th.
Okay.
Now, the typical Eberron campaign, like I said, it starts on a particular day. And that day is the 1st of Zarantar, 998 YK.
So...
January 1st.
116 years? No.
104.
104 years later.
Yeah.
Okay. How long has the war been over?
Well, the Treaty of Thronehold was kind of worked on for a little bit, but yeah. It's fresh. The mourning happened in 994, and it took them about 2 years to get together and start putting things together. So the last war has kind of been over for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Sorry, year and a half to 2 years kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Yep.
The reason that the war happened was there was no direct line of succession. And because all of the nations were ruled by a Wynarn, they were all struggling and fighting and kind of getting at each other's...
Yeah, is a second cousin once removed more important than a first cousin twice removed?
Think of Europe with, the Russian, German, and English monarch all being distantly related. In some cases, it wasn't even that distant.
Wasn't, like, the European royalty severely inbred in some places, too? Like,
in some, like, the Habsburgs were. If you Google, like, the Habsburgs, they had a particular deformity that was known as the Habsburg jaw. Okay?
I've seen pictures where it's just a giant lower jaw.
Yeah. So, like, there was a lot of it, but I mean, that's not...
That's not what this is? This is not, again, we're not Game of Thrones level of incest here.
I mean, I haven't come across it, but I mean, let's...
I wonder if they came across it, though. Never mind, keep going.
Okay.
Yep.
So, during this 100 years of war, alliances changed, allegiances swapped, some people fought others, and ideas changed. Nations had to evolve to keep up with the war. There were years of nothing, where just like there was no fighting, intertwined with years of battles and sieges and the worst parts of war. But I mean, it wasn't like 100 years of clash, like it wasn't...
No, it was 100 years of tension with occasional battles and direct warfare.
Yeah, and this all came to a head, like I said, 4 years ago, when the nation of Sire was destroyed by a magical, cataclysmic event known as the Mourning.
And again, mourning like sadness, not mourning like AM.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Now, the nation of Sire was the heart of Galifar. Okay? And they, because of this, ended up being the main battleground during the last war. And it could be seen in its lands and its people. Its people were battle hardened over time. The war was, or the land was pockmarked, full of, you think magically a fireball leaves a crater. Like the earth was scorched. Okay? But none of that could prepare it for what happened on the 20th day of Oleroon in 994 YK. The day that over 1 million, I don't want to call them Sirens. Okay, Sirens. The day where over 1 million Sirens were killed. Now, the only survivors of the Mourning were soldiers that were off fighting in foreign lands, the people living on the outskirts, who were able to flee the advancing mist, because that's what the Mourning was. It was a mist. Okay, we'll get into that in a sec. And the other people that got away were those that could escape through magical means.
So they like fly away?
Well, I mean, you got to keep in mind this is a steampunky kind of realm. So there's airships, there are fast boats.
I just want to know if these were the air raid Sirens.
They could have been, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they could have walked really fast.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways, so because this killed so many people, there's kind of varying stories on how it came to be.
Nobody knows for certain.
Not really. If they do, they're not talking about it. Okay? Now, some people say that these mists rose out of the sewers of the capital of Sire, a city called Metrol. Okay? And it kind of spread from there. Others say there was a flash of light that engulfed a battlefield by the Seyroun Road. Regardless, what is known is that in just one day, millions had been caught by the grey mists and were not just killed, but horrifically transformed. Okay?
Ooh.
They were twisted.
Into what?
Dead. They were dead, but it, fucked them up on the way.
Oh, yeah, so their faces melt and they sprout 3 extra fingers and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And this took 1 day to wipe out the entire kingdom. And you gotta keep in mind that, Sire was right in the middle of Khorvaire, and the mists haven't gone away. There's these big walls that block off people from entering what used to be Sire. Okay?
So it's a quarantine zone.
If you live and breathe, you can't go in there. You will die.
What if you don't breathe?
Like the Warforged?
Yeah, I was also thinking there's a bunch of different races and stuff that don't have to breathe.
Maybe that's a campaign hook right there.
Yeah, okay. I think an Undying Warlock, Pact of the Undying, doesn't have to read stuff like that.
There are certainly ways to get in there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And there are some myth and legend about what goes on in the Mournland later on in the book.
Sure.
But I mean, that's really what happened.
Yeah, okay.
Now, like I said, it was the Mourning that shocked all of Khorvaire into coming to the negotiating table. Okay. Which was at Thronehold, which made the Treaty of Thronehold.
Gotcha,
right?
Yeah.
So 2 years later, in 996 YK, the treaty was officially signed and brought an end to the last war. So there's your actual answer.
Okay.
2 years ago, the war ended.
Okay.
And in those 2 years, there have been the displacement of Syran refugees. I really don't want to call them Syrian refugees.
No. Syran is the right way to do it.
So there's most of the nations, like I said, Syre was in the middle, so a lot of the nations have taken in these refugees to bolster their populations from what they lost from the war.
Yeah.
Now, they're also kind of in some places to serve the ruling class. It's not all good. However...
So they accept them in as like slave labor almost. Well, not slave labor, but indentured servitude?
Yeah, I really would not call them slaves, but they're there for a reason.
Yeah. We'll allow you in. You do these things for us.
Yeah. Now, also the bordering one of the original 5 nations, Breland,
where you get your cheese from,
naturally, has allowed them to settle a city that they have called New Syre. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's been going on in the last couple of years. Now, again, the Warforged were created to fight in this war. When the Kingdom of Galifar came into existence, the Warforged were not a thing. Okay? So now you've got this race that was built for war, just kind of roaming around. They don't really know what to do with themselves. And, I mean, they have since turned into raiding parties, and they're supposed to be, again, because they don't breathe and so on, there's supposed to be a large group of them in the Mournland. In fact, perhaps they were the ones that caused the mourning. They wanted to carve out their own part of Khorvaire for themselves.
There's suspicion and stuff around them as well.
Of course there are. Like, I mean, they're new. They're the new kids on the block. People are looking at them kind of funny. They're not always welcome. Yeah. You know, we don't serve your kind here. They're robots, but not, right? So, Ronauts?
Ronauts. No.
Yeah, I don't got it.
No, I don't got it either.
Yeah, I don't got it. But, and that's really...
Androids.
I like that.
Androids.
But I mean, and that's really where we're at today.
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of, there's the history that you need to know.
So there's a civil unrest. We have these 4 continents, and there's the big one that everybody, just tell me if I'm getting this right.
Yeah.
Okay. There is this long, almost 1,000-year-long history on this planet, which is made up of one dragon really holding another one in place, and all the evil comes out of it. Another dragon is shattered in the sky. We've got our main focus of our campaign setting is on the continent of Khorvaire. Gotcha. There are other continents, but one of them doesn't have giants on it anymore.
Correct.
One of them has...
Well, maybe it does.
Maybe it does. Okay, so there's one that's full of humans, and we'll talk about that, I guess, another time.
Sort of, that's where humans came from.
Okay, so kind of like, again, I'm going to use Game of Thrones because it's popular pop culture at this point, where all of, like, the first men came from Essos over into Westeros.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same kind of idea.
Sure.
And so we've had 1,000 years, essentially, we had almost 900 years of peace. Then the king died, there was no successor, and so these 5 nations went to war. It ended up being how many? 12? 10?
12 and a half.
12 and a half, yeah. Right? Yeah. Because there's that young...
Let's go with 12 plus.
Okay, 12 plus nations. And so the war has been over for 2 years. There's not only a displaced people because of this rotten, horrible, toxic land in the middle, but there's also a new race that was created during the war for war, and that's the Warforged, and they don't know where their place in the world is anymore because they're soldiers and they're thinking, they're not automatons, but they were bred for war, their skills are war, and now they can't utilize those skills.
Yes.
Okay, and so here we are, 2 years, and we're going to launch a campaign on Khorvaire in one of these other kingdoms.
Probably in the main city on Khorvaire that I haven't brought up yet, named Sharn.
Where's Sharn?
It's in Breland.
Okay. All right. So there's going to be refugees. Sharn is known as the City of Towers because I did a little bit of reading ahead, right?
Oh, is it ever? Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk about Sharn later, but we're talking Metropolis. There's a lot of refugees. There's a lot of mistrust between the nations. There's some political things going on in the background. There are horrible fiends coming out of a distant land called the Demon Wastes. There's the Underdark is really a nasty afterlife. Or no, well, that's where fiends come from. What happens to dead people?
They die.
their souls don't go off to a heaven or a hell analog.
Maybe we'll get there.
Okay, all right, we'll get there. So that's what we have. Do I have that right?
For the most part.
Okay, well, it's a Mimic podcast, so let's grab dice. I want to roll initiative, Dave. If you had to choose one of these details, because there's a lot of ridiculous words and crazy freaking timescapes and a calendar with a whole bunch of... As someone who's made up a nonsense calendar, that was also a nonsense calendar. So there's a lot going on here. What's the one thing that you would kind of steal to put into your own homebrew campaign? Want to roll initiative?
Yep. Not 20.
I got a 13. Well,
it's only downhill from here for me.
Yeah.
So a long time ago, we played... You were actually playing in it. This was in my shitty apartment over by the...
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And I did a really bad job DMing. It was probably the worst DM job that I've ever done for the entire campaign. And I'm okay with it. You guys were the ones that suffered, not me.
It honestly wasn't that bad. I've been in worse stuff since, but...
But the thing is that I put so much time into writing that. And I stole so much different stuff. So many different things from so many different places, from different corners of pop culture in order to put this all together. Okay? The one thing that I really liked was you guys started off in Sharn. You traveled on a boat across to Xen'drik's, where you had to find the essence of 5 giants, which were the stone giants, hill giants, frost giants, fire giants, and...
Storm or Cloud?
Cloud, because once you did and you destroyed them, you were going to be given 3 iron flat. No. Yes. Okay. So on the last one, you got up into the clouds. I think you ended up climbing Jack's magic beanstalk to get there. And you managed to get 2 iron flasks. One of them held the dragon god, Ugin, who I directly stole right from Magic the Gathering.
Sure.
And a Tarrasque. And the idea is that the Tarrasque was unleashed upon the world, and you guys had to stop it. But Ugin was going to fly you, he was a grey dragon, he was going to fly you to Argonnessen to meet the dragon people, where you were going to learn the secrets behind the Warforged, and you were actually going to have to imbue your souls through a creation forge into Warforged bodies so that you guys could journey into the Mournland, where you could go down through the Lake of Blood into the underworld, into Khyber, to retrieve an artifact that when you came back out, you would have giant dragons that you could fly. Each one of you, I think there was 5 of you in the campaign, you would each get your own color of dragon to control. And you would have this artifact to go, and by the time you caught up with the Tarrasque, it was leveling the city of Sharn. So we went from Khorvaire to Xen'drik to Argonnessen, back to Khorvaire, through the Mournland. You guys transformed yourselves along the way. So every single part of this, I like and wanted to steal.
All right, so there's no one thing that if you had to strip it all down, what is the one thing that sticks out to you? Is it the dragon gods and the creation myth? Is it the old war that was falling apart? Is it the new displaced people? Is it the mystery of what happened in the Mournland? Like, what is the...
The one thing that has always, I guess, been a part of D&D but never really fleshed out was what to do with displaced people and the strife that they might face because of it.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. They really embrace that in Eberron.
Yeah, this is we'll get into, there are some shadow organizations. There's also different houses that run different facets of the economy of Khorvaire. And, it's absolutely fascinating. Figuring out where all these people fit is just, it's incredible.
I want to see an HBO series based in Eberron. That would be badass.
It would be messed up. But I bet you they could do it better than the 8th season of Game of Thrones.
Well, I liked it. I'm not having that conversation with you. I'm one of the 3 defenders of that season.
I didn't say it was bad. I mean, I think it was, but I didn't say it. But I mean, we all know that Game of Thrones was 6 seasons, and it ended there.
Okay, so my answer, the one thing that I like about this more than anything else, is the dragon myth, the creation myth. I freaking love creation myths. They're also freaking weird. The Norse ones are particularly freaking bizarre, but I like anything where the gods are just chilling out and like, hey, you know what we should do? Make shit exist. And then they do. And then, invariably, someone fucks over someone else. And now people are walking around.
In the beginning, the world was created. This is generally regarded as a bad idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. I really like the creation myth here. I could steal these if I didn't want to play with Bahamut and Tiamat. I would steal these Progenitor Dragons to be new dragon gods, but they haven't. We've got an evil one. We've got a protector, and we've got, I don't know, what would Siberys be?
The one that's the rings.
and then the one, yeah. But you have three so you have a dynamic you can play with in different dragon cults, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of fun to be had there. So
yeah, no, I dig it. Anyway,
let's talk for a moment about one of the monsters that we can dig into here in D&D, and that is, you talked briefly about overlords. Overlords actually have stat blocks. Two of them have stat blocks, and they're freaking crazy. One of them is all about secrets and shadows, and one of them is all about like warfare and rage. Which one are you interested in?
Warfare and raged, I would say, probably.
Okay, so here's what I got. In the first days of the world, the children of Khyber rose from the darkness to reign over Eberron. The greatest among them were the overlords. The overlords are immortal, as we said earlier, and if you were to quote-unquote kill them, they just go back down into the
yeah, they're immortal. When the forces of light vanquished them, they just kind of held their essence.
Yeah,
in the underworld.
So it does say that armies of dragons fought against the fiends of Khyber, and although they couldn't be destroyed, the Coatl sacrificed their lives to build a prison of celestial light, which is called a silver flame. Now, this is leaning into the Celestials and Dragons myth.
We're going to talk about the Silver Flame just a little bit in the next episode, but it's essentially just a religion.
Yeah, okay, so...
Or there's a religion based upon it.
The idea is that a Silver Flame binds the overlords in Khyber. And the idea is that these shards, the Khyber dragon shards, which are out in the world, all have essentially these overlords you've got to break the shards or get them and do rituals and whatnot in order to release an overlord. It does say that no overlords walk up on the ground in the prime-material plane.
Yet,
but they statted a couple out to give you an idea of what their power is. It also says that they can't die permanently. Upon its death, a overlord reforms elsewhere in the multiverse and becomes active again at a time set by the DM. So, buy your DM some pizza. You chose Rak Tulkesh, who is called the Rage of War. And he's the incarnation of impulses that drives many mortals to battle. Fear, greed, hatred. These are the seeds of the Rage of War. And these are the things that they hope to produce in people to have just like almost a blood harvest. This guy typically takes the form of some sort of fleshy looking dragon. He's really creepy looking. He's got iron spikes growing out of him. He's 12 feet tall. He almost has like a centaur feel to him as well, because he's got 4 legs but 2 arms. He's really he almost looks like an undead abomination, but he's got a long ass tail with a big spike on the end of it. And the idea is that it has inspired cults to rise up. If you like war and fighting, or if you hate another people, so if you are a racist, this guy gets power. So here's his brief stat block for you. Okay, he's considered huge. His AC is 23, but it's 25 against ranged attacks, which is weird. I've never seen that before. Which means you got to get right up to fight him. He's got 33 D12 plus 264 hit points.
That's a couple.
Yeah, that's a bunch. He's got 40-foot movement and climb and 80-foot fly. He's got strength and con, which are through the freaking roof. Charisma's up there too. Intelligence and wisdom are above 20, and Dex is sitting at a 19. Dex is his lowest at a 19.
That's gross.
Yeah, he's got wicked saving throws. His skills are athletics, intimidation, and perception, and they're all through the fucking roof. He's resistant to cold, fire, and lightning, and immune to poison and any bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing attacks from non-magical weapons. They just don't work. You cannot pick up an item and go hit him with it. It will just bounce. He's also immune to being charmed, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned, or stunned. He has true sight up to 120 feet and a passive perception of 24. Languages, all. Telepathy, 120 feet.
Damn.
Yep, he damn well knows you're there. Challenge rating 28.
That's crazy.
Here's what he can do. He's got some innate spell casting. Spell save DC is 24. And it's a bunch of, like, smiting. Like, it's right out of the Paladin stuff. He gets Detect Thoughts, Dispel Magic, Spirit Guardians. Because he's divine, right? He's powered by Khyber. If he scores a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20, he rolls the damage dice 3 times, not twice.
Oh, so it's times 3.
Yeah.
That's one thing that you don't really get a lot of in 5th edition, do you?
Ever. This is unique.
Okay, because I remember, like, even in 3.5, your Great Axe would get a times 3 critical, right?
You not only do you almost never see an improved critical range, right, of 19 to 20, like, you have to go into a specific subclass in Fighter to get that. But you never, ever, ever see multiples of damage dice beyond the regular critical.
So, I mean, really the only people that get the extended critical range are real keeners.
Oh, that was a 3.5 joke, Dave, that most people will not get.
Well, educate yourselves.
He's got legendary resistances 3 times a day, magic resistance, which means he's got advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. He has Whirlwind of Weapons. A magical aura of weapons surrounds him in a 10-foot radius. At the start of each of his turns, any other creature in that aura takes 46 force damage.
That's fucked up.
And it's force. Like, nothing is immune or resistant to force. That's hard to come by. So, yeah. We haven't even got to do his actions yet. He makes 4 weapon attacks. His weapon attacks are either his spawned melee weapon or his spawned ranged weapon. And what those are, because they circle about him, he doesn't actually directly attack you. He just spawns them around him, and they either have a plus 17 to hit with a 10-foot reach. This is the melee. 10-foot reach. Plus 17 to hit. 3d12 plus 9 force damage when they hit you. Or the ranged ones are plus 12 to hit, but they can go up to 600 feet.
Oh, is that all?
Yep. They can only attack one target, though, and it's 3d8 plus 4 force damage. He can also change shape as an action, where he polymorphs into a humanoid, beast, or giant that has a challenge rating no higher than his own, which is fucking nothing. Nothing is higher than 28. So, like, he can turn into pretty much anything.
So far.
Or
nothing is higher than 28 so far.
No, I think this is the highest. The Tarask, I think, is the only thing that he cannot turn into. And it's a monstrosity, not a beast. So, I don't believe there's anything that high. Or he can turn back into his normal form. He returns to that form if he dies. Any weapon or equipment or anything that he's carrying is absorbed into his new form. In his new form, he retains his alignment, hit points, hit dice, ability to speak, proficiencies, legendary resistance, and intelligence, wisdom, and charisma scores, as well as this action. So he can't do the other stuff anymore. He also gets legendary actions, because of course he does.
Yeah, why not?
I want to go on other people's turns, because I'm a CR 28, which means that he can do another one of these crazy weapon attacks, or for 2 legendary actions, he can cast Dispel Magic, or he can provoke rage using all 3 of his legendary actions per turn, which means that each creature within 60 feet of Rak Tolkesh must succeed on a DC 24 wisdom save, or use its reaction to make a melee weapon attack against a random creature within reach. If no creatures are within reach, it has to make a ranged weapon attack, even if it means that they have to throw their weapon to do it. It straight up says that in the rules. This attack is made with advantage, and gains a +4 bonus to its damage roll. So he can just make everyone in the party attack each other, and potentially disarm themselves. This guy is badass. If I want a end of a campaign for a 7-person party, this is what I throw at them. I may reskin him, but if I'm not an Eberron, but he as an overlord he's almost like a demigod of rage. It's badass, and I freaking love him. The other one in the book, by the way, is that's actually statted out. She is known as the Queen of Shadows, and all of her stuff is mind and psychic nonsense, but still CR 28.
That's messed up.
Yeah. So, pretty badass, hey?
No kidding.
They're swinging for the fences in Eberron, and a lot of stuff is high-powered stuff in their monster stats.
Yeah, there's a lot of magic in this world, and the creatures and bosses and bad guys reflect that.
So, are there any final thoughts then, Dave? Are we ready to wrap this up?
I mean, I can go on for a long, long time.
Well, you will. We have more episodes.
Yes, but I mean, let's probably pause it here. We've gone from the beginning of time to present day. So let's call it there, and we'll get into what present day looks like here in a little bit.
This entire series, as well as other series on role-playing games, are available on the It's a Mimic feed on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and lots of the other podcast apps, so don't forget to follow or subscribe on whatever app you're listening to. Also, check out the entire library of episodes on www.itsamimic.com, and feel free to support us by hitting that donate button.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the It's a Mimic Touring the Multiverse. You can check us out on Instagram and Facebook, or you can find me at the subreddit r/It's a Mimic. Until next time, I'm Dave.
And I'm Adam.
And we'll be back with more Eberron information and crazy adventure inspiration next time.
Magic items over here. Come on down today. We're going to get you the best deal. We're going to get you out of here with smiles and a little bit of weight in your pocket. Win a house, win a car. Win a horse, win a card. Hey, come on down. Jed's magnificent. Hey, mister. Hey, buddy. Buddy, you're on fire. Your pants are smoking.
What, me?
Hey, pal, help your friend. No, look down. You're on fire, man.
Where? I don't feel on fire.
Oh, wait, hold on. Hey, I'm sorry. It looked like your pants went up in flames for a moment there, but it must be all that coin burning a hole in your pocket. Luckily, I got a few things here that might help you with that.
I thought he was calling you a liar.
Yeah, like, what do you got? What do you got?
What's your name?
I'm Adam.
Adam, all right.
I'm Coffee Bitch Dave.
Coffee Bitch Dave. What the fuck is coffee?
It's like hot bean juice.
Bean juice? If you get any of that, bring them over to me and I'll see if I can flip them for you, you know?
And what's your name?
Jed. My name's fucking Jed. I had kind of a shitty name. It was kind of given to me, but it is what it is, and you take what you get, and you roll with it. Alright, fellas, today I got the finest, and I mean the finest dragon shards in all of Eberron. Hell, the best dragon shards you'd find in all the plains. And what are they, you may ask? Do you may ask?
I do may ask.
What may are they?
Alright, so there's three types of these shards. Let's first talk about our homegrown Eberron dragon shards. Shop local, right?
Right.
Now maybe these little crystals ain't much more than a pretty rock to give your grandmother for her 263rd birthday to the average fella. But hey, you grind these rosy little fuckers down into fine pretty powder, you have yourself the power to fuel almost any act of magic you'd want. Missing a spell component? No problem. Dragon shards. Release the power of the overlords? No problem. Dragon shards, you know?
I do now.
Hey, well, thank you. Like I said, they're local, but, if you're looking for something a little more exotic, I got you covered too, pal.
What do you mean?
Alright, well, we're talking at this point, we're talking about Khyber dragon shards.
Khyber, like underground Khyber?
Yeah, it comes from the ground, right? And, but make sure you grab some sunscreen, because these bad boys, they're like deep underground, man, like deep underground, like close to some magma shit. You know what I mean?
What do they do?
So what do they do? These dragon shards, they act as the glue to the magic we see around us every day. Maybe on the more darker scale sometimes, but elemental binding, planar binding, phylacteries. Hell, Khyber dragon shards can also be used for necromantic rites. You necrophile me? I mean, you can if you want. It's up to you completely, buddy. I mean, it's just a thing that we do sometimes to pass the time. But if you want, we can move on to the Siberys dragon shards.
Okay.
Alright, man. Heads up. These shards come directly from the ring of Siberys. Amber crystals lined with these glimmering gold veins, right? Watch out for any pickpockets while these shards are in your possession. They fetch a pretty penny.
Are they more valuable than the others?
For you today, same fucking price, buddy. Same price. Usually a little bit more expensive, but today we're going to work it out for you. Alright, these Siberys dragon shards, they're used for anything from attuning to a magic item to crafting legendary items or artifacts. These son of a bitches be the pick of the litter for those with deep pockets.
Well, I don't know how deep our pockets are.
Yeah, well, jump a bit. We'll have a listen.
You're not hearing anything. We don't get paid for this podcast.
Yeah, I've actually just recently been upgraded from intern.
Intern? So what, you're working for free?
He was. Now we pay him in coffee beans.
Anyway, okay, so obviously you're pretty new to this, so how about, I tell you a little bit about the crafting aspects of these shards, eh? Because, crafting can be time-consuming and tedious, to say the least, right? You know what I'm talking about. Dragon shards allow those proficient enough to skip the sweet talk and get down to business. Work smarter, not harder, am I right? To give you an example, right? Let's say your adventuring pal is proficient with his herbalism kit, yeah. Okay, if she's got herself one of those shards, she can craft a potion of healing, no problem, to help with her glaucoma or whatever the fuck she says.
Sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, you know what it is. That's all we sell here is interesting shit. If we were selling boring shit, you wouldn't be here, right?
Right.
I'd say let's get down to the brass tacks, but it looks like with you fellas we're dealing with copper. So what do you say?
None for me today, thank you.
Nothing for you today. All right, okay. Well, hey, what about you, big guy? David, what do you say, Coffee Dave? At least steam your beans?
I don't know. What, how much? Tell me, give me a number.
Hey, look, David, how about this? You bring me some of them boiled beans that you're talking about there, that coffee shit, and I'll give you some dragon shards. Fair trade, right off the fucking skiff. Sound good?
Sounds wonderful.
Alright, hey look fellas, it's been a blast, honestly. A good time to say the least, but I gotta keep this line moving here, making a living.
Okay, yeah, we'll be back probably once a week, I would assume.
It seems likely, yeah.
Sounds good to me. Alright, David, Adam, we'll see you next time.
See you next time, Jed.
Bye, Jed.
Hey, we got magic items over here.
Jesus, please cut this.